This meeting is being live streamed. I just pressed got it on it. Yep.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to KUMB TVs. It's not Eyes Up Mother Brown, is it? For a change, I was going into a familiar pattern there, but it's not. We are here live for the Europa League draw this morning. I'm joined by some of the usual suspects, and I'm joined by myself because I can hear myself in the background. There you go, muted that. Apologies for the rather late arrival of us, all my fault entirely, as always. I'm joined this morning by Mark Bristol Hammer. Is that side on my screen, but he might be on the other side to you guys. Chris Wilco on the other side, our podcast presenter and match reporter. We're also joined by Paul Walker, who has been writing some very, very good stuff lately, and of course for many years for KUMB, ex-Fleet Street Journo, the only one with any real qualifications amongst any of us. And also the mighty Nick DL has joined us very late. Even later than we were, Nick, but good to see you, buddy. We're going to be taking you through the live draw, which is going to be happening very shortly. We can actually see it just about starting on our screen. I'm going to pass you over to Wilco for a minute or two, however. Pink Palermo's joining us as well, I can just reveal. And Chris, if you can just handle the reins for a minute, my friend, I'll be back in just a tick.
Do my best. I can do my best. We've got, I suppose it's another round of 16, isn't it? Because we had that weird little knockout round of 16 beforehand, and we've still got another 16 to go. Have we got anyone in particular that we're looking to draw? I think we've still got today. We've got Atalanta, Braga, Barcelona, Leipzig, Porto, Rangers, Real Betis, and Sevilla all made it through in last night's second leg of their playoff ties to join a pot of Leverkusen. Red Star Belgrade, I'm going to say, because I don't think I can pronounce Krasnodar. I tried, though. Eintracht Frankfurt, which some of you may remember from many, many moons ago, at a Cup Winners' Cup semi-final, I believe. Galatasaray, Monaco, Lyon, Spartak Moscow, and, of course, the mighty Hammers. There's a few teams you might not want to pick there. Some more political reasons than maybe others at the moment, with the world in its state as it is. Are you looking for anyone in particular, Paul, that you'd like West Ham to draw, that you think you'd like West Ham to have in the next round?
Well, you're right. I mean, of the teams you've read out, half of them we can't get anyway because they're group winners like ourselves. So we're talking about the other 8 who got through last night. I suppose if you want to get through, I go for Braga. Probably the weakest of the sides left in it. They play at an amazingly odd ground with a cliff face behind one goal. Very, very interesting place. And they put out Sheriff last night. There are lots of people who want us to have a wonderful draw, a wonderful European night, Barcelona in East London, all the rest of it. I actually want to see us to get a bit further. So I would say, I mean, Betis as well. I mean, that brings back Manuel Botticelli, isn't he? They're not that strong, but the rest of them, I mean, it's very hard to pick at this level. Some really, really strong teams. I mean, Sevilla, who've won it 6 times, I think it is. Porto, always good on their own grounds. Atalanta done a really good job in Italy. I think I saw them play Man City a couple of years ago, and they were absolutely outstanding in the Champions League. Leipzig, we know all about them. Barcelona, Rangers. Now that'll be a wonderful all-British game, but I'm not scared of going to Rangers, but watching them last night and how that crowd wound them up, that could be a hard place to go, to be honest. So if I was to ask, I go for Braga.
We're going to Portugal by choice then, if you had by choice. I mean, I can see many reasons why you sit in the end of a cold February and think I wouldn't mind going to Braga. I can see the Rangers thing as well. Certainly, if you're looking for atmosphere, I suspect 2 games with Rangers might very well prove a little bit of what you want in both games, especially if you're going up to Glasgow.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, would be a fantastic draw for the neutral to watch.
Yeah.
But Rangers, I mean, I saw Rangers on the television a couple of weeks ago draw very badly at Ross County. Awful match. Standard of football was terrible. Then they go and beat Celtic. And then Celtic beat them very easily. And then this team now are now put out Dortmund. The comparisons are ridiculous. Really,
it is, isn't it? I mean, you kind of wonder whether they might be having just one good game last week when they beat them, but they followed that up. As much as Jude Bellingham tried to drag Dortmund through, they managed to follow it up, Rangers, with with a huge result for them to put them further in this competition than Celtic have got in the considerably lesser Conference League as well.
Yes.
So I'm sure that's a boon for them if they need it.
And further than Spurs, I think we could do that in as well.
Yeah, just always remember that Spurs could use their little excuses, but they didn't make it anywhere near as far as they probably should have.
Thank you, Burnley.
Yeah, that's a shame, isn't it? Mark, have you got a preference of any of the teams you'd like to get?
Yeah, I think I'd like to see us draw Atalanta just because Duvan Zapata plays there, and we save on the scouting, and we can put it towards the transfer window in the summer as an extra 50p, isn't it? But yeah, I think a nice trip to Italy. I'm a little bit concerned about the Rangers tie, just because I wonder whether we'll drop into that kind of Kidderminster mentality and drop our levels, and think, oh yeah, this is going to be easy, and then we suddenly get ourselves in a bit of trouble, which we've all seen over the years. So yeah, I think it's Atalanta for me. The one I want to avoid is Porto. I think they're a real good side this year, and I think if we can do well to avoid those.
Yeah, it's you kind of hard pushing away. You look at those names, to say name you'd want feels like you could be a little bit naive when it comes to the rigors of knockout football. Are you back with us now, Graham?
I am, but if you're happy to carry on hosting, mate, please do. You're doing such a wonderful job, and I can carry on doing other bits and bobs if that's all right with you.
I certainly can do my best. I'd never say that I do it well, but I managed to keep the kids in order when we do the podcast. But Jack does edit me quite a lot on that, to be fair.
well, I mean, we've got no scripts, have we? Let's be honest. We only came on air 5 minutes before we started. So if you can handle it, mate, that'd be grand. I'll leave it in your very, very capable hands. I'll
do the best I can. I can see. I mean, I probably won't make as much pomp and circumstance as I'm sure they're making in the draw. I haven't got the volume on because I can never really suffer listening to them do the kind of half hour of glorified professional banter that they do on these draws. I mean, they can never pick somebody without less of a stern face. But so I'll stick by numbers and figures rather than listen to them speak. Maybe for some people, I'm a better version of that. I don't know, Mark. If I'd put a suit on and I start speaking a slight accent, I'm sure I could pull it off.
You need a spray tan.
Get a bit of a spray tan. It's been a long time since I've seen the sun.
I mean, I can't. I've got the sound turned down too, so I can't do two things at once. So I've no idea what's going on. So it's going to be a real shock what comes out of the draw.
It's going to feel a little bit old-fashioned, maybe, like a proper FA Cup draw where you're not paying real attention.
I've got my screen off today because I'm incognito. Yeah, this is joining from work. Okay, so if they've got voice recognition technology at my firm, I'm sunk. But without a picture of me, I think I'm okay. I'm hoping we get Barcelona because this is the worst Barcelona team in pretty much 20 years. We will never have a better chance of going to the Camp Nou and spanking them. And I want to see West Ham go over there in their thousands, turn up at Barcelona and absolutely give them a proper caning. Yeah, and I think we'd do that 1-0, 92nd minute, in off Declan Rice's backside. I'd love Barcelona because I think it's the glamour tie of the round. Rangers, for my money, would be a huge game. But the draw's underway now. So, Chris, back to you.
Starting, my incognito spy behind the borders has just pipped in to let us know his thoughts, and I'll come back in due course, I'm sure. So we've got. How are they going to do this? Are they doing?
Yes, they are doing it. Rangers. Is that Rangers? Yeah,
Rangers first. You're ahead of me. That's going to be my issue here. I'm on slow type. We've got Rangers up first. I'll have to go to my correspondents to give me the teams first. That's fine by me.
I want this one, by the way. I'd like Rangers. Like Thomas Souček, I'd like the all British tie. I think I'm leaning towards Rangers or Barcelona, either all glamour or all atmosphere, but no damp squib would be my preference. That's for sure.
I keep repeating. I want to get a bit further.
Yeah, I'm never expecting any sort of progress, Paul. So I'd rather go out in a blaze of glory. I think rather than.
Well, what's next?
So Rangers have just pulled, or I can't see it. He's got his fingers over it.
It sounds like he does want me to do his job.
It's Red Star, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rangers Red Star. that's an interesting one for them. I don't know if you could look at that and say there's a favourite in there.
Oh, not at all. Could be anything, couldn't it?
I mean, that's this problem with Rangers' inconsistency. If you say to them, you can never really be 100% sure they're going to beat Ross County, then I suppose you
Braga's
can't.
just come out.
Braga out as well. You can't really be sure they'll ever beat a European team either. So Braga, for those of you looking for, I think Braga's Portugal, isn't it? I said that with confidence.
It is,
Yeah. It's near incognito where Pinky is.
Hi. Hello. Yeah, I'm good. I'm running late. I am coming up.
Someone tell Pinky to put his mute on.
He's got too many fingers in too many pies here. He's got to be.
About 2:30.
I'm not sure I ever heard this conversation in the Bond films, but I will be there.
All right.
Bard.
Braga have got Monaco.
Right.
Braga, Monaco. That's real. It's kind of old school for the first one, a real glamour for the second one, isn't it?
Monaco
Have we all got our EasyJet websites up? Have we all got our Ryanair websites up? Yeah. Are we ready? Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think you could be happy that Monaco's out the way. I'm not sure there's any cheap accommodation in Monaco from my memory of the place.
Porto's just come out.
Porto.
Cheap in Monaco. If we go to Monaco, you'd want the best, wouldn't you? Surely. We're West Ham.
Limos and Lamborghinis as you roll down. Is that the way we?
Last chance for a good golfing week coming up.
Who's
it going to be? So Porto are the third highest ranked team in the competition, it seems, according to the UEFA coefficient.
Martinez as well, isn't it?
17.
Olympic Lyonnais.
In Europe.
Lyon.
Ooh.
I mean, I can't say I'd be desperate to face either of those, but
No.
even that, I mean, they're all good teams. I suppose most of them are good teams. It's the kind of thing I need to remind myself when we look at these. I kind of go through every team and be happy that I've skipped them, but you've got to play someone eventually.
Well, the good thing is that four of the bottom five in terms of the Europa League ratings are still in it.
Atlanta
Monaco,
just
we've
come
seen
out.
draw.
Yeah, Atlanta.
There you go. Who wanted Atalanta?
I did.
Here you go, Briz. This is the one.
I'm worried about Atalanta. I think they may be top 2-3 teams left in it for me.
Ranked 25th in Europe according to the stats.
They
1,
look
2, 3,
really
4,
good.
6th highest.
Really good Champions League team. If you look years, I think it's Gasperini is their coach, who's basically got them playing this wonderful football. They played Man United twice in the group stage, and I think deserved to beat them 2 times, and kind of got Ronaldo'd at the end of one, if my memory suits.
Leverkusen.
Mm.
So the Barcelona dream is still on.
It is, yes, it's still there.
Still a chance at Barcelona. We've got Atalanta and I've already lost it.
Well, Betis. We haven't had Betis or Sevilla yet, have we? Or Leipzig.
No Betis, Sevilla, or Leipzig. They are some terrifying teams. So Atalanta, Leverkusen.
Sevilla just come out.
This is it.
Up and down year in the Liga, Sevilla, haven't they? In a year it's not its strongest at all over there.
Second highest ranked in the competition left, 11th in Europe, just behind Barcelona, who are the highest at the moment.
Sevilla are second in the table, aren't they? 6 points behind Real Madrid fighting that.
Good side.
Here we go.
Good side.
And they're hosting the final, of course, aren't they? At the forget the name of the stadium now, Chris. You'll tell me because you know these.
Oh,
things.
I can't remember.
West Ham United.
This Sevilla.
Oh no!
Sevilla.
Well, it'll be a lovely trip for you, Pinky.
You've got to go there twice.
Absolutely. And guess what? I gambled yesterday and I booked a flight to Seville yesterday. So I've got a rock bottom price on my flight. Yeah. Oh, how pleased am I? That'll be a terrific. I mean, think about it. You know, we'll actually be.
Barcelona.
It's a reconnaissance mission for the final.
Yeah,
that's what the Seville game is going to be.
Love to say I know how to pronounce the stadium. It's got the Roman Sanchez. I'm going to say Pizjuan Stadium, but I don't think that. My Spanish isn't great, and I've done 600 odd days of Duolingo, and it's not stuck at all.
So Barca v. There's not many left now, is there? What we let 5 left?
Moscow. They could be Moscow.
Galatasaray.
Right. What What a good game that is.
Galatasaray, again, one of the lowest ranked teams in the competition. 12th out of 16, 55th place, according to the UEFA stats. West Ham, of course, as we mentioned on KUMB earlier in the day, 15th out of the 16 in terms of ranking.
It's Leipzig against Spartak Moscow. That's all that's left.
There's two, isn't there? Isn't there two more to come? We've got Barcelona versus
Oh, no,
Gala.
sorry, you're right. Yeah, Eintracht's still there.
Yeah.
West Ham facing Sevilla, who are the second highest ranked team in the competition. So that's
Moscow.
Not good for us. Moscow next.
Leipzig against Moscow.
Leipzig against Moscow, which is...
And that will have to be played on neutral territory, won't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've UEFA and FIFA allowing the Russian teams to stay in but not play in Russia. I can imagine there's a possibility things still may change there as well. I mean, I don't think we have to all announce for geopolitical situations.
Yeah, to be fair,
Betis Frankfurt was the last two.
East Germany again by then, so Leipzig could actually be part of the Soviet Union again by then. So it could be. It's not exactly neutral territory, home territory for the Russians.
Who was that last time, Mark? Eintracht.
That was Betis against Eintracht Frankfurt.
Betis at home in the first leg, yeah.
Yeah.
Pellegrini's side, I think they'll be reasonably confident with Eintracht Frankfurt, who are certainly not the team they once were. I think people of my generation definitely looking up those ties with the Cup Winners' Cup and stuff like that, rather than having them to memory of Eintracht Frankfurt being one of the bigger teams. Not that I want to push my age whilst I'm here, whilst I'm one of the younger ones finally, rather than the babysitting duties I have.
I like the way he says one of the younger ones, looking around the table, and that's very generous of you, Chris. Take a quick look back at the whole draw. We've got Rangers of Scotland versus Red Star of Serbia, or as they're now commonly known. Braga of Portugal versus Monaco of France. Porto of Portugal versus Lyon of France. A couple of Portugal v France games there. Atalanta, Italy versus Bayer. Is it still Bayer? I'm not sure they call them Bayer Leverkusen anymore. They used to. But anyway, it's Atalanta v Leverkusen of Germany. Seville of Spain were drawn up next, the hosts of the competition. It's final in May against West Ham United. As Pinky said, going there for the first time, possibly twice this year, with a little bit of luck. Barcelona at home to Galatasaray in the first leg. Red Bull or RB Leipzig of Germany against Spartak Moscow of Russia. And finally, Real Betis, Manuel Pellegrini's current team, against Eintracht Frankfurt of Germany, a club we might have played once or twice before. Chris, what do we reckon?
I mean, firstly, we don't know that Pinky isn't young in this stream today. He could be a young, dapper man behind that hidden mask. You can't tell. So I'm sticking with the younger ones. I think it's certainly a draw that can excite the away fans, which I think is the least I was looking for, I guess, really. You always feel they deserve, if they're going to travel, they do these miles, they've been to some places, they deserve somewhere that's going to host them nicely, I suppose, on the way there. But it does feel a little bit like not getting one of the star names, but also getting really, really hard tie. So optimisms are low.
Are you sort of saying we feel a bit like Kidderminster when they drew Reading in the third round of the Cup? Is that where we are?
It's possibly a bit of a nicer area of the country than going to Reading. I don't know. I don't want to talk down on Reading. I haven't been for a very, very long time, but I certainly feel like you might get more of a tan on Pinky's skin this time around, rather than Kidderminster's January, Berkshire, wherever we're going.
I've got to say, I think we've got probably the toughest tie of the round there. But what a treat for West Ham United supporters. A really decent European team to play home and away. And we'll find out whether or not we're any good now. And, you have to say, if we get through the next round, who knows how far we could get in this competition, because, short of Rangers, who I don't particularly rate. I know the Ibrox factor is a big thing, but I think Rangers were probably one of the weaker teams left in. So once you start meeting the Spanish clubs, they know how to play. And if we can get past Seville, well, who knows? But get your flights booked, lads. Anyone watching this, you can get to Seville out of Ryanair. You can get there pretty much from anywhere. Don't forget the Madrid option. You can fly to Madrid. The high-speed train network in Spain is superb. 2.5 hours will see you down from Madrid down to Seville. Loads of options, loads of hotels in Seville. Thousands and thousands of West Ham. Get to Seville. That's what you need to do.
Yeah. Can I? I've just sort of looking at Sevilla. That brings Eric Lamela into this, who was at Spurs, because he's there now, and Suso was at Liverpool. I've got a little list here. Even Ratitiki, who was at Barcelona. They've won this tournament 6 times, and if they win it the 7th, it's a record. I think gentlemen here have said that this is a really, really good team. They play some lovely football. They're excellent in their own league. It's a really hard match. And probably say Barcelona, because of the name, would have been the hardest, I suppose. But Sevilla are better than Barcelona this season. I think it's a really hard go. It's a really hard tie. Interesting that what happened with Moscow. People are saying here quite rightly, things could change with this. I mean, what's going on in Ukraine is appalling, and it's only been 1 day now. Now, people are trying to get Moscow thrown out of the tournament. I think the Italian FA tried last night to get Spartak thrown out. I think by the time we get around to this, I'm not even sure that Russian teams will be allowed to play in Western Europe. I mean, you couldn't, for example, see if a team, Spartak Moscow, had been taught to play in England, our government would not let Spartak Moscow in. They just wouldn't give them visas. And I think this is going to be a problem right across Europe now. I noticed this morning that UEFA have told Russian and Ukrainian teams that they have to play on neutral grounds. I can't think of anything more ridiculous. How does a Ukrainian team get out of Kiev to play on a neutral ground when there's a war going on? I mean, some of the nonsense UEFA this morning defies words, to be honest. And I think that the rest of European football will make their own decisions about this. I can't see Germany allowing Moscow to play in Germany. I mean, some of these things UEFA seem to have just almost ignored it. They're looking at it as if it's a minor skirmish, which shouldn't be allowed to affect their football. Well, I'm afraid it has done, and it will do. And I'd be amazed if Moscow are allowed to play in this tournament much longer.
Well, I mean, Paul, just to pick up on that, look who the sponsors are.
Yes, exactly, Gazprom. I mean, last night in Spain, Zenit, astonishingly, were allowed to play in Spain last night. They're sponsored by Gazprom. The Champions League is sponsored by Gazprom. UEFA are looking at the money here somewhere along the line, and I think it might be taken out of their hands sooner or later.
Well, it needs to be, because if you look at that connection, when we didn't have the Champions League final held in London because of the pandemic or what have you,
yeah,
and it had to be transferred. I think it went to Portugal.
It did, yes.
Yeah. Well, that conveniently meant that Roman Abramovich was able to attend that game.
And surprisingly, now in Paris, and he can go to Paris.
Yeah, and so it's strange how these finals are appearing in territories where he is being welcomed.
Yes.
And if ever we needed further evidence of corruption in UEFA, FIFA, the whole lot of them, nothing's changed since the days of Blatter. The money machine rolls on, and it's just a disgrace. And
I couldn't agree more. I mean, when I saw Zenit were actually allowed to play in Spain, the Spanish government should have stopped the match, sent them home, put them on a plane, go home. You're not welcome here. But they're allowed to play, and they also have, mind you, had a goal disallowed in the last seconds, which would have taken it to extra time. A goal which probably should have been allowed to stand, but we're talking about referee corruption here, aren't we?
It's not often that referee corruption works out in the right way. It certainly feels maybe that way. Maybe that way, if you're looking to figure someone's done them a favour. UEFA have issued a statement on Russia invading Ukraine, but all they're doing is they're working tirelessly to develop and promote football according to common European values. One of those statements that means nothing, isn't it, Mark?
Well, I was going to say, it's one of those statements that says, whilst we're hand-wringing in the corner, we're actually getting the money into our back pockets. I mean, football's shown time and time again it's got a very low moral bar when it comes to Europe and the whole kind of FIFA, UEFA thing. And I agree with Pinky. I think it's disgraceful that it's even still being talked about, that Russian teams are still in this competition.
Well, they have actually, the statement continues, and we remain resolute in our solidarity with the football community in Ukraine and stand ready to extend our hand to the Ukrainian people. We are dealing with the situation with the utmost seriousness and urgency. Decisions will be taken by the UEFA Executive Committee and announced tomorrow.
But why wait? Why wait? It's not like the war is going to get any more warrior, is it? I mean, it's a war. It's in Ukraine.
Yeah, I
They,
mean,
they can see it all. I mean, this whole kind of waiting thing just says to me, it's all
the
about.
Russian troops are in the north of Kiev at the moment. They're actually on the ground in the north of Kiev. This is not going to be a capitulation. The Ukrainians are not going to just cave in. This is going to be an urban war, street to street, isn't it? And it's going to go on for some while.
I would guess there's a PR person at UEFA who's trying to delay things as much as possible so they can work out a way of how they can reply whilst they still keep their money, I would guess, and they don't affect sponsors. And I know that Schalke removed Gazprom from their shirt yesterday.
Yeah, yes.
Gazprom were their sponsor. Some people are making more efforts. No, I suppose it must be fair to say that it's not the easiest situation for UEFA to deal with. I guess they are just football leeches suddenly having to deal with something much more difficult and much more arduous now. I mean, I'm certainly the kind of thing you wouldn't want anyone in the Premier League making decisions over either. It's it is hard fighting the government bodies. If we look at the ties themselves, tough ties in there. Have we got a favourite to win it at the moment on the top of our heads, other than West Ham? I mean, I'll teach you some Spanish as we go along. I've got a few phrases for you, but other than very, very confident that it'll be another trip later on in the year for Pinky to get back to Spain, who do we think will be joining us in the final at the moment?
In the final, wow.
I want your optimism, Paul. You want to go far? I've given you as far as we can go.
I want to go as far as we can go. Yes, I mean, our team is capable of going further than this. I mean, the last month or so, some of the form hasn't been particularly good, but we've only lost 2 of our last 10. I mean, and we've drawn Leicester and we've drawn the weekend. We haven't exactly been throwing the results away. We haven't been playing particularly well. We were always going to get caught. We have played too many matches and the teams have come up and caught us, although Spurs are making a really good fist of not doing it. But that's the entertainment part of it all. I mean, Arsenal last night, by all accounts, did very well. Interesting to see how Wolves react on Sunday, to be honest. They played on a Thursday. They're playing us on Sunday. That should be an interesting game, to be honest. So who do I think in the final? I don't think you can discount the Germans, Leverkusen. Atalanta, I think we've all said, very, very good attacking football team. I mean, someone said that how well they did against Manchester United. Well, like I said, I saw them maybe the season before, and how they didn't win at at City. City were overrun by them for half of the match, and they were outstanding. Very good team, very good manager. Interesting to see how that develops. But as we were saying, the tournament going back to Moscow, the Italian FA last night tried to get them thrown out. And when you look at the group stages of what was in Moscow's group, it's Napoli who was second. Now Napoli went out last night, I give you that. But what UEFA could do would be to reinstate the second team in Moscow's group. Now
I could see there'd be more controversy around that than them actually making an effort to kick someone out of a tournament. You can see self-interest is suddenly very, very important compared to war. I think in these football clubs,
right through football. Self-interest is always right through football. This tournament will continue, it has to have 16 teams in it. So if Moscow are thrown out, someone has got to replace them. You can't play one short.
Yeah.
So you can see where the Italians were coming from.
We've got a lot of ties. I mean, usually at this point, Graham, you'd go through tie by tie, wouldn't you? I remember this now. I've got the process in my head.
Yeah, we would. While you guys have been chatting, I've just been having a quick look around to see if I can find a Sevilla forum, and there is one. There's not much reaction yet, but I can tell there's a couple of people that have posted. Mishak, who is curiously based in Liberec, who is a Sevilla fan, says that I'm excited and curious. I presume he's talking about the football match as opposed to just generally. He says, Mishak says, as I am from Czechia, it's always interesting to see Czechs play against Sevilla. Souček and Stufal, I hope Sevilla will play better than yesterday. And he also says, West Ham aren't in top form at the moment, so I guess we should have a chance at least, which is an interesting way of looking at it. Regilio, who, again, not based in Spain, based in Illinois in the US, says West Ham is then very excited for that tie. If there are any more comments to add to that between now and the end of this particular broadcast, I'll let you know. But just to tell you briefly what a couple of our fellow hammers are saying about this tie. Colours Never Run on the KUMB.com forum says it's the toughest draw possible. Let's have it. Dodger says, I wanted a big draw, and apart from Barcelona, this is the biggest we could have got. What's the point of qualifying for Europe? To progress as far as possible, yes, but also for games like this. Surely we will be up for this one. And yeah, everyone's quite excited by the looks of things. GSB says, I fancy our chances more over 2 legs versus Sevilla than in a one-off against Man City, Liverpool or Chelsea in the latter stages of the FA Cup. Das Nutnock 3. Dan says, it's an opportunity for our boys to make themselves immortal. Kind of like that, actually. That's pretty good, isn't it? Are we going to take a look at the ties now? Should we start with the top, Chris? Rangers via formerly known as Red Star, I believe. Well, I mean, I guess Rangers will be buzzing about that one, won't they? Rangers fans. I mean, you think out of all the group winners, possibly them and us, and maybe Gala were possibly the weakest teams they could have drawn. So I'd imagine Rangers will be quite happy. But I mean, what an incredible result that was for them. Over the 2 legs, not just to win in Germany, but to hold Dortmund last night. As for who I fancy them, I think you've got fancy Rangers actually.
I think it would feel very, very Rangers to knock out Dortmund and then get beaten by Red Star Belgrade. It does feel like a very Scottish football to kind of lift themselves up for the big figures. They do. I mean, Celtic always used to make those Champions League nights very hard, even when they weren't tip-top shape. They were they kind of. You wouldn't want to be an English team going there at times. They should have the quality, but I think they might Rangers it. So I reckon I'm going to go Red Star if I'm going to choose of that one.
Shall I keep scores? Do you want me to do that as well?
You keep the scores. I'll let you focus on your writing, and I'll move on to Mark. Mark, who would you pick? Rangers or?
I mean, I think Rangers will lose. I think that for them, just being in the draw today they're going to be ecstatic for that, because I don't think they expect it to go through. I want Rangers to win just for the fact that I don't want it to have to keep typing like someone's lent on the keyboard for the football team. But I think it's a Red Star win all over.
Red Star. I've got 2 for Red Star. Pinky, Red Star or Rangers?
Whilst I dearly love Red Star to do it, there's a clue there as to my preferences. I have a feeling Rangers might get through that. Yeah, they just might sneak it because, Paul's spoken about it quite passionately earlier. That Ibrox factor. I've been to a few games of football north of the border, and there is nothing like the bonkers nature of either Celtic or Rangers supporters in full cry. It is terrifying. And if the Rangers fans get behind their team, as they can do, Red Star may just find themselves wilting a bit. I'm going Rangers.
Rangers. Paul, are you?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, but Rangers have now got a competent manager as well who understands European football. And as Pinky said, Ibrox is a phenomenal stadium. I mean, watching it last night, it was horrendous. Now, Rangers can get a result in the away game. And if they do that, then they go through. And I think Rangers will get through.
It's definitely an open one, isn't it, Graham? I don't know if you're allowed to add your opinion this time, Graham, as you're not sitting in the host chair.
Right, isn't it? This is uncharted territory for me. It's good stuff. I don't quite know what to say. Yeah, I agree with Pinky and Paul. I think Rangers they're on a roll at the moment. I think that win against Dortmund would have given them huge confidence boost. Let's be honest, Dortmund were one of the favourites to win this, weren't they? Up there with Barcelona and Sevilla, and that was a massive shock. I'm not sure there would have been a shock as large as that in a 2-legged situation for a while in any European competition. But that's it's. I mean, what have we gone? We've gone 3-2, haven't we, in favour of the Scots on that one? So it's I imagine it's going to be very, very tight. But that would be a really interesting tie. I think it'd be a good one to watch.
In my mind, the glamour tie of this, but I think I might just be because of Monaco and the memories I have of walking the streets of Monaco. But Braga, Monaco feels like it's your perfect holiday of the both of them. If you're picking a winner of that one, Paul, who do you think, Braga or Monaco, to make it through?
I would think Monaco, to be honest. Monaco have had more. I think, did they not have Russian ownership up until quite recently? I've got a feeling of that. They've had to have financial problems. I'm not sure now whether they have those problems. I think they're doing much better this season. Braga is a stadium I've been to in Portugal. It's one with that amazing cliff face behind the goal. Anybody remember watching the European Championships there when it was in Portugal? This stadium was built out of a cliff face. It's a remarkable stadium. Braga is about, I don't know, half an hour from Porto. It's not a huge place. I would expect Monaco to win that.
Monaco, we've got one for Monaco there. Pinky. All the money of Monaco, all the beauty of Braga.
I'm going to go for Braga. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a fan of French football. I struggle with it because it can either be absolutely brilliant or it can be absolutely terrible, depending on how they feel on the day. I don't know if it's a natural psyche thing. So, yeah, I'm going to go for Braga in that one. But I'll be honest, I'm indifferent because, I'm going to bang the West Ham drum again here. We beat Seville. I fear nobody left in that competition if we beat Seville. I don't care who we meet in the final. Get past Seville. We are pretty close to glory. There you go.
I think if we beat Seville, we'll put a lot of other teams on the back foot thinking about facing us as well. That's for sure. Mark, Braga or Monaco?
Monaco for me as well. I think that they've just got enough to take it against Braga. I think, again, Braga are quite a young team in terms of European football. Monaco have been around for years. I know the occasion. So for me, it's Monaco. But again, just to pick up on Pinky's point, you wouldn't have been sad to see West Ham Seville as a final. That would have been a real showcase final for the competition. So, yeah, I think Monaco will go through. But again, I'm with Pinky. If we beat Seville, I think that there's no limit for us.
Definitely on that one, it would be a huge confidence boost. It could be the kind of thing that reignites the season. Hopefully, we don't need to be reignited by that point. Hopefully, we've reignited ourselves a little bit before then because we've got a few other competitions we're playing for. I mean, neither team are having particularly good year. I think Monaco are 6th in Ligue 1. I think Braga are 4th in the Portuguese league. I guess not fighting for championships on either case means they can focus on it. But I'll go Braga. I think I fancy the Portuguese football being a little bit stronger than French in that middle period at the moment. Graham.
Based on absolutely nothing, because I'm unfortunately I don't know an awful lot about either team or how they're progressing this season, apart from the information you've just imparted, Chris. I'm going to go for Braga. I think Monaco might possibly struggle a little bit. Ligue 1, as we know, isn't the greatest in terms of quality. Braga have been there or thereabouts, haven't they, in the Portuguese league for the last few seasons? I mean, I know I'm just checking now, they reached the final of the UEFA Cup as it was then in 2010. They were beaten 1-0 by Portugal in Dublin, funny enough, that final. But I just think they might just have the edge based on the fact that their domestic competition, might be slightly better, maybe marginally, but yeah, it's just a guess really. So I think we've got that one 3-2 to Braga as well. So that's both teams that qualified from the playoffs so far. We've got down as winning. Rangers.
It is, yeah. They won in penalties last night, if I remember correctly. Braga, did they? Or they got through.
Did they beat Sheriff? Was it?
Yeah, Sheriff? And Sheriff is one of those odd ones where I think it's probably a hard team to go and beat. They've made themselves this year. They've showed those competitions. A little bit of that kind of cup tie feeling as well. So the minnow type tie. Well, there's in the next tie, old boy Felipe Anderson, who everyone lovingly remembers. Porto versus Lyon. Mark, Porto versus Lyon? Where's your money going? Where's your pick?
Porto for me. I think that they're my favourites to win the whole thing. If we don't go through against Seville, I think Porto are going to do the lot. I mean, they came through a really tough tie with Lazio. They're a good footballing side. They know the competition well. For me, I think it's nailed on for them to go through.
Porto, one for Porto. Pinky, desperate to see more Felipe Anderson in the next round? I feel he's your type of player. Have I lost him? Have I got so perturbed by the news of Felipe Anderson possibly returning to the London Stadium for the fiver that
at the moment?
With the £5 we gave him away for, maybe that he's trying to hope he can get back if he visits again. Paul, then, if you were picking between Porto and Lyon,
I'd go for Lyon and Felipe Anderson. I mean, it didn't work out for him with us. Something about not running, something about not tracking back, something about not trying, something about not interested. I can't put my finger on it. It just didn't work out. Sometimes it does. Sometimes
I'm not sure that Anderson is there anymore. Didn't he go to Lazio in the summer?
He may have done. Even better. So I definitely won't have to put up with Felipe Anderson. Okay?
I mean, he did absolutely nothing at Porto, but I think we got rid of him, didn't we?
Am I messing? Am I thinking Tony Martinez is it Tony Martinez? It's Tony Martinez is Porto. It's Lazio's Felipe Anderson. I remember now. It's too many big name hammers. I'm trying to get mixed up in my head. It's a shame as well because I really knew my audience there with Felipe Anderson and Pinky. I really did know what I was going in for.
You did me there, but to be fair, Tony Martinez was delivering pizza to my front door last night, and I didn't recognise him. Okay, I mean, let's be honest.
First time he delivered for West Ham.
Indeed, it's on his CV. He's passed through the club, in a kind of anonymous way. If he carves out a good career for himself in professional football, as he appears to be doing, delighted for the bloke, because you know what, he's got further than any of us, and hats off to him. But I think, if you actually had him ring the doorbell of pretty much every single West Ham United supporter, I think maybe 1 in 50,000 would recognise him. It's that kind of thing.
No, I agree with you. Yeah, it was sorry.
Yeah, so for me, again, indifferent. Lyon, maybe just to keep a French interest in there somewhere. So I'm going for Braga against Monaco. I'll go for Lyon against Porto. There you go, even-handed.
Lyon against Porto. For you, Paul, are you French inclined this way or Portuguese?
Well, I tend to be Portuguese, to be honest. I mean, Porto have got a fabulous European record over many, many years. That might help. Lyon are excellent side in France. I know the French league is not as good as people seem to think it is, but I've got a feeling about Porto. They do well on their own ground. I noticed they've got Pepe, who's the captain now, who's a nasty piece of work at the back. I think he was at Real Madrid, wasn't he? And I just think that Porto Martinez is interesting because I think I've said to some people recently, when he was with us, he was a kid. And we stuck him in the tide a couple of times. I remember rightly. He didn't look very strong. He didn't look very powerful. But as has been said, he's 4 years down the line. He's fully grown man now, and I'm pleased with that. He's made a career for himself because I just think that we didn't get the best of him because he was too young with us. I actually think Porto can win this. It's a very tight match.
I mean, they're I think top of the Portuguese league. I think Lyon are down in 8th, if I looked correctly there when I was just peeking through to pretend I'm more knowledgeable than I am. So I guess you have to kind of back the team that are flying and in form as well. Although I'm not sometimes 100% sure that I feel that 24 is a fully grown man anymore, Paul. But that might be because I'm 32 and I refuse to accept I'm a fully grown man. I'll let you all work out if you think you're fully grown men as well, Graham. Not just on that.
I've not grown up yet either. I'm a lot older than you.
Yeah, fully grown here, unfortunately. I can't see further than Porto in this one. Definitely, the better of the two teams in all areas for me. And they've got a bit of history in the tournament as well, haven't they? As I said, they won it in 2010, beat Braga. Also won it in 2002, 2003, which is the season, of course, we try to forget as West Ham supporters because we ended up at the wrong end of the Premiership. I think it was still then, wasn't it, in that season? But it's I've got to go for the ex-Champions League team again there. So I think that's a 4-1 in favour of Porto, Chris, on this occasion.
I think we've got favours to that one. Another, I suppose there's ex-Champions League teams all over the place, but another one of the ex-Champions League teams, Atalanta, who've kind of bigged up so far on this, really, haven't we? Atalanta versus Bayer Leverkusen. I'll go back to you, Paul, on Atalanta. You seemed quite confident in them earlier, so would you pick them to beat Leverkusen?
Yeah, I would. I think that they've done. They're playing some lovely football, and I can only say what I saw a couple of years ago, how impressed I was with them, and I think they've impressed a few people. I think with the style of their football, I mean, they've beaten. I'm just looking at my list here. I've not got all this written down. I'm trying to see. Oh, yes, they beat Olympiacos 5-1 on aggregate in this. Well, that's not unexpected. Sort of ruined the chance of Masaraka going back to Greece for his old team. But no, I think that Atalanta, I think, are an outside bet for this, and I go for them on this one.
I think I pick Atalanta too. I think also that they're an outside bet on this one. Mark, how about you?
Yeah, Atalanta for me as well. They're the most West Ham-like of all the other sides in the which is why I wanted us to play them. I thought it would be an amazing game to see the two sides together, and we may still well do that. But for me, they're just a really good footballing side. They move the ball well. They support from the back. They play very much like we do in that fast-flowing football, and I think they're just going to be too much for Leverkusen.
They are a really good watch, Atalanta. They are certainly one that you kind of neutrally end up kind of backing when you're watching them, because you kind of see this, it's kind of a little bit old-fashioned kind of Kevin Keegan will score more than you type of vibe to them. A pinky. It's the Italians and the Germans, then Atalanta and Leverkusen.
I'm going to go for Atalanta in this. I think they've had a fairly decent side for a couple of years now. You know, Leverkusen, I'm not convinced over. I'm not sure about German football outside of maybe Bayern Munich at the minute, if I'm being honest. I think the dominance of just one or two clubs in the Bundesliga these days has destroyed it as a competition, and there's teams there now qualifying for European competition, which I'm not sure are all that good, if I'm being honest. And I fancy a team from the Italian league slightly more than one from the Bundesliga, what I call this tier 2 competition. So I'm going with Atlanta for that one. And just a quick update on flights and travel. A flight that I paid around £50 for yesterday is now selling with the same airline for around £310 more. So we now know that many West Ham United supporters are doing this morning, and they are not working.
El West Ham is enorme, is my first Spanish for you. West Ham are massive, and that has been proved with flight prices. I did see someone suggest maybe flying into Malaga might be a smart move, but I'd imagine that's going up and up as well on the way. I think we've got a clean sweep so far for Atlanta, Graham.
Yeah, 4-0, and I've got to say I can't really look beyond what all of you guys have said. Was it not Atalanta who had that incredible run to the semi-finals of the Champions League the season before last? Am I thinking of the right Serie A team?
Yes, you are. Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
And you know they've come from, almost seem to have come from nowhere a little bit. I mean, I'm not a keen follower of Serie A, but what's interesting is just looking at the two records of Atalanta and Leverkusen is that they're very, very similar. Atalanta 5th currently in Serie A, 12 wins out of 25 games, and Leverkusen 3rd in the Bundesliga with 12 wins from 23 games. So domestically, they're very, very tightly matched. But I think Atalanta, with you know that recent experience at the sort of upper echelons of the Champions League, might just be too strong for the Germans on this occasion.
I think that's all reasonable there. Five sweeping through. We've either all got a really good idea on something or we're all terribly wrong. So at least we're doing it together in that respect. I'll skip the West Ham. I'll leave West Ham to last. So, keep everyone waiting. Barcelona versus Galatasaray. I mean, we've all seen Barcelona having their own kind of weird up and down financial story and whatever else is going on with players that they can't afford to keep one. Then the next week they're spending 55 million on someone else. But they knocked out Napoli, which was who were probably one of the favourites for the tournament at that point. So they're obviously showing there's still life left in Barcelona. I mean, if I haven't made it obvious, I'll be picking Barcelona for my choice. But Mark, if you were looking at that, are you feeling a possibility of a shock for Galatasaray, or Barcelona to carry on?
I think Barcelona will take it, but the weird thing for me is that this feels like the weakest tie of the tournament when you've got Barcelona included, which is like really, really strange, because I'm looking at them and they're both two teams that I would have fancied beating whoever got them. So you put the two together. I think Barca will take it just because I think they're the better side. But again, for me, it's really odd saying that Barcelona are probably one of the weakest teams in the tournament at the moment. But I guess that's where we are now. And, it's something that Sevilla look more of a threat than they do. So yeah, Barca for me.
What a stage in life that we can look at it thinking Barca aren't that dangerous for West Ham. It's something to live through as far as I'm concerned. Pinky, Barca, Galatasaray.
Well, if there was a team to avoid in the draw, Galatasaray might be it. I mean, we talk about the Ibrox factor for Rangers. I don't think anyone fancies going to Turkey to play football. It can be an intimidating atmosphere over there. Barcelona, though, should have just enough quality to beat them. I think, I don't think it's a good Barca team at the minute. They're all over the place, really, as a football club. But I think Barca will go through. They'll get through that tie.
Oh, just caught me sneezing. Paul, Barcelona or Galatasaray?
Yeah, I mean, I come from a generation who has idolised Barcelona for many, many years because of the style, even to a certain extent because of the politics of Spanish football. And they have deteriorated, and they've had a dreadful, dreadful time financially. They've got Xavi back as manager now as well, and they're slightly pulling it together. I mean, Busquets still there, isn't he? And Piqué's still there. So this is the end of the era of those really fantastic players. Galatasaray, I think Pinky said, is going to Turkey very, very difficult. I mean, I hark back to when I was earning a living at this game. I went to Istanbul a couple of times to see Galatasaray in the old stadium, the Ali Sami Yen, which is something else. It's astonishingly vibrant, huge crowd. They're in the stadium 5 hours before the match. They're being bussed in from all over Turkey. They've now got a lovely new stadium, but the similar sort of atmosphere. They can be hard on their own ground. I just think Barcelona will get through this. I think they're better.
Quality to tell. I mean, shocked looking there at the Super League to see that Galatasaray are 13th in the Turkish league at the moment, which...
Is that right?
I mean, also shocked looking at the amount of teams that I couldn't tell you the names of and I'm not going to even try and pronounce. Graham, are you joining us on the Barcelona bus for this one?
I mean, I think there's no doubt this is possibly the most cut and dry tie out of all of them. Even though Barcelona, as has been said, haven't been, playing up to their usual high standards in the last season or two, for reasons that are well documented. Galatasaray not having a very good season domestically. Not much more to add to what's already been said. Clear cut win for Barca, that one.
It's another clean sweep. Then we've got Leipzig and Spartak Moscow. Now, obviously, again, there's the politics of this, and it's almost impossible to discuss as kind of football without thinking of whatever could be surrounding it. And I say that whatever very loosely, without wanting to politicize too much, obviously. But on terms of pure football, Pinky, I mean, my feeling is Leipzig are probably the better team.
Yeah, and again, I mean, if we look at Russian football at the minute, look at Vlasic and where he's joined us from, and the time it's taken to get him up to speed, it's indicative of the competitiveness or otherwise of that league. I'm going to go with Leipzig. I don't like the whole Red Bull thing, if I'm being honest. It's not fantastic. And should we be damning the Spartak players because of the actions of their government? I'm not sure we should. Again, it's sport getting dragged into global politics. I'm purely footballing. I'm going to go with Leipzig for that one. And, we'll see. I mean, if we get drawn away to them in the next round, East Germany, or the former East Germany, it's not the prettiest place. So, again, one to avoid for me. Yeah, one to avoid. But Leipzig to go through.
Leipzig to go through. Paul, obviously, so much going on around it.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's interesting that it was mentioned that the players shouldn't suffer because of the behaviour of their government. I go along with the political argument there, but this isn't politics. This is a war. This is an invasion. This is slightly different. However, to come away from all that, I think Leipzig have got a reputation for being well organised, having a structure, proper plan for the players they come through. I think they're a better side as well. To be honest, I've not seen Spartak Moscow, so it's a really hard ask. But I think Leipzig will get through with this, but I've got to go back to my earlier stage. I'm not sure that this tie will take place in the format it's in at the moment.
Oh, it's hard to predict in that respect. We've got 18 points, I think, behind Bayern Munich at the top of the Bundesliga mark. They are fourth, that my assistant here, my phone next to me, tells me. They've grown in stature in the past few years, haven't they, Leipzig? And the Red Bull model behind them, for better or worse.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, another one for Leipzig here, but I think I wouldn't be surprised to see Napoli back in the competition. Now, if West Ham were Napoli, you can imagine David Sullivan turning up with his arms around Andrei Yarmolenko's knees, taking him up to, hand wringing and saying about how bad it is. I actually think that there's a chance that Napoli could be back in it. I wouldn't rule it out. And if that's the case, I think Napoli would take the tie against Leipzig. But purely from what we've got in front of us, I think it's Leipzig for me that are going to take it.
It's definitely a possibility, isn't it? And it's I suppose probably all possibilities are open. I would go looking at that as the two teams as they are. Leipzig will be better than Spartak. Also, I wonder whether it's not going to be particularly comfortable for Russian teams to be going around playing in Europe and fans not being maybe most welcome, and also whether some of them will have a hint of shame around them as well on the kind of bigger stage. So that's 4 for Leipzig. Graham, I know you've got all those fingers on your hand to count. You'll be able to keep track of this one, but it's a chance for a 5th if you're inclined as well to join us for another clean sweep.
I'd like to be contrary because I don't know if you've noticed, it's kind of quite frightening from a West Ham perspective, is that so far every team we've picked to proceed to the next round is a former Champions League team, which doesn't particularly bode well for West Ham. But yeah, I mean, you can't really look any further than Leipzig, can you? The strongest team, the best record. And of course, as you guys have said, we just don't know what situation Moscow are going to be in come the next round in March. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely Leipzig for me on that one.
Leaves us with one more before West Ham, Real Betis and Eintracht Frankfurt. Now, I spent yesterday talking to my dad about he'd love to get talking about Frank Lampard running around a corner flag against Eintracht Frankfurt and trying to work out if that was the right game. I said, Dad, I was born in 1989. You know this. You are my father. You should have a full awareness that I wasn't alive for that. But Real Betis brings Manuel Pellegrini, a man who I will stand by in my defence of in the face of most people disagreeing, I feel, as his spell as West Ham manager. But a good team in them, Real Betis. They've had a bit of a resurgence under Pellegrini, Paul, and they'll be kind of hoping. Spanish teams generally take this competition seriously as well, so they'll be hoping to go far.
Yeah, I think yes, you're right about Betis sort of having a bit of a comeback. I've got my own opinions about Pellegrini and what he did at our place, which is, but he's done better since he's left, to be honest. I don't know about this one. It's I think Betis could get through here.
It's Betis, yeah.
And by the way, the running round the corner flag was at Ellen Road. It was the FA Cup semi-final replay, Everton, Frank Lampard. Okay.
That's brilliant.
That's brilliant. Dreaming of a Frank Lampard.
I'll bring that up tomorrow. I'll just say, I've just found that out, as if I haven't been told.
There was a game, wasn't there, Graham? You probably remember it. I can't remember what one it was, where his son went and did the same thing.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Not sure whether that was Ellen Road, but he certainly did the same thing. The trick around the flag, but my memory is not that good.
Pinky's probably the man to. You're absolutely right. I do remember that happening, but Pinky's probably the man to ask because I'm almost certain he would have been there out of any of us. Pinky, does that ring any bells?
I was not there. Not there.
Okay.
So there you go.
Actually, you out on one. Well, whilst I've got you, Manuel Pellegrini's Real Betis or history of Eintracht Frankfurt for this?
I'd go with the history of Eintracht more from the fact of I'd rather they got through than Betis for no other reason than if we got Frankfurt in the next round. Frankfurt's a great city for a night out, and I know it well. So you can have a great. I mean, our supporters would love a night out in Frankfurt. I can tell you that for nothing. So for my money, I'd like Frankfurt to go through. There you go.
Poor guy, Pinky.
Some peripheral activities to the football. You need to understand the European jaunt mentality. Only when we get to the final will I take the football truly seriously. Up to then, these are the away trips for the lads and great experiences for our lot. So Frankfurt for me, if they can get through, I'd be happy there.
cultural jaunts are all part of the West Ham away experience, I believe. I'm sure there's lots of history to take in Frankfurt, which is certainly not the only thing they'd be taking in, I would guess, if they're all abroad in Frankfurt. Mark, Spaniards of Betis or your Frankfurt coming in?
I've got a sneaky feeling that Frankfurt are going to do this. I think Betis are just an inconsistent team. They're kind of hot and cold. I thought Pellegrini got a rough ride from some fans for the fact that he was at West Ham. I don't think it was his fault that the checkbook was suddenly withdrawn in the second season. It's typical David Sullivan trick, that one, isn't it? Give them the first season, then make them pay it off over 10 years, 50p a week. But for me, I think Eintracht will go through. I think it's going to be close, though. I think it'll be a real close tie.
It's good to see that you joined me as a Manuel Pellegrini defender who also, every time he gets the chance to defend Manuel Pellegrini, we jump in and do it as well. Unprovoked often, but I'll bring that up in conversation unnecessarily. Graham, I think I'm the only one who's picked Betis so far. Am I, or did Paul go Betis as well? I'm leaving the numbers to you.
Well, I mean, it's immaterial, my vote now, because it's obviously gone in the way of the Germans with 3-1 so far. But I'm kind of... I've got a little bit of sympathy for that view. I know that Betis are having a fantastic season. What are they, third at the moment in the La Liga? And like you, I'm reading this off a screen. I'm not pretending to know any of this off by heart. Whereas Frankfurt are down in 10th, aren't they, in the Bundesliga? Of course, as we all know, with only 8 wins from 23. But European pedigree, it's if West Ham are going to do well in Europe, I'm fairly certain that Eintracht Frankfurt have got to be in the running somewhere. So purely for that poetic reason alone, I'm going to go for the Germans. But on paper, you'd probably expect Betis to maybe be the stronger over the two legs. But yeah, why not? Let's go for Frankfurt. And of course, as I said, we've got to go for one of the existing Europa League teams, haven't we? Otherwise, we're going to be out on a limb when it comes to West Ham. Shortly.
Yeah, well, that is the last one, isn't it? It's Sevilla West Ham then. I mean, for those just joining us, we've got the kind of the kings of the Europa League, it felt like, for a few years. In my mind, they've basically won the Europa League nearly every other year. Unai Emery and Sevilla, in my head, that is what happened. I don't even know if it might have even been Villarreal at different points. It doesn't really matter to me. In my head, Sevilla win the Europa League. You've got to eventually, one of these Champions League teams is going to make it through eventually. Yep. It might as well be at our hands. Are you an optimist on this, Briz? Are you? Optimist is all I've got, really.
I always back West Ham to it. I always want us to win. My problem is, I think our squad is paper thin. I really do, and I worry that we've got tough domestic front coming up. We've got some tough games. I just worry it's going to be a step too far for us in terms of European football. I really want us to go on and win this. 1980 was the last time, I think, going back, where I saw a major trophy. I'd love to see us go and take this one. I just really do worry about our squad depth, and I think that a couple of key injuries, and we are really on the back foot on this one. You've got to be on your best game to beat Seville, and I'm not sure that if we have anything other than our top team out, and even with our top team, we've got a misfiring Antonio at the moment. I really worry that we're going to struggle. So I'm going to say West Ham, just because it's me and I support West Ham, but it's going to be tough.
It is going to be tough. I mean, on the plus side, at least when you go back to look for trophies, you've got more than the Intertoto Cup and the playoff final that I've got.
I don't even count those, mate, to be honest.
You have to. When it's been a long time otherwise. You're right. I mean, the squad will be stretched. These games are played the 10th and the 17th of March. I think we've got a midweek game the week before that as well in the FA Cup. It is back to 2 games a week, which is going to be a big deal for a squad that looks stretched at the moment, kind of playing 1 game a week at the moment, Paul.
I tend to agree with you. I'm not prepared to come onto this channel and say that West Ham are not going to win this match. All the reasons people have given, I mean, Sevilla have got tremendous experience in this tournament. They have won it 6 times. If they do it again, it's a record. They produced 1 or 2 managers that have fouled, one manager that fouled rather badly at Arsenal, if I remember rightly. But all the signals are that this is that Sevilla are going to get through because of their experience in the competition. I actually feel that we're going to throw the kitchen sink at this tie. Whether we're going to admit this openly, we're not going to get in the top 4. We're very unlikely to get in the top 6. you can look at this from Moyes' point of view and think, well, you have a go next week against Southampton in the cup, and then this one comes round. I think we're going to have our strongest possible team out, as well prepared as you can possibly get them. And I think that it's the second leg at our place. Yeah, so the second leg is at our place. Now that's when we come into all this, and that's 60,000 of our lot. We can make that stadium, however much we dislike some elements of it, when it's really rocking, and it has once or twice this season, beating Liverpool, beating Chelsea, very unlucky not to get something from Man U. The stadium can carry us through in the same way as Ibrox can carry Rangers through. I don't see we're quite that fanatical, but I think that there is an element of that. I just think that we are going to do better in this tie than people think now after the last month or so when we haven't been playing particularly well. I think he can look at this with, say, 15 games to go this season, and he can target 3 or 4 matches to go full head on it all. I think we can win this, but let's see what happens in the first leg. We're going to go there and defend. There's no question about that. We're going to sit there and defend and hit them on the break, because that's how we play. And that is probably quite good for European football. You're expected to do that. And we haven't been, someone said somewhere, we haven't been beaten by more than 1 goal by any team in 18 months. I think Graham might be able to dig that stat out. It came to me last week and I thought, shows how competitive we are, even if we aren't particularly good at any particular moment. We don't get badly beaten by anybody. So if we come away and we've lost that game in Seville by 1 goal, we're going to get through.
It's the kind of thing that keeps you in good stead in knockout 2-legged football, not letting a game get away from you if it's not going. I suppose
not to get overrun down there.
Exactly. I suppose, Pinky, if this team need inspiration, an away trip and a Europa League knockout against Sevilla could be the kind of difference, maybe something different for them mentally, or a different type of motivation to get them going again, where maybe they were tired legs before.
Yeah, and let's not kid ourselves. For some of the players in our starting 11, each round further they go in this competition will end up being the high point in their careers.
Yeah,
not all of our players regularly represent their countries. Not all of them have won trophies. Yeah. So and not many of them have finished higher than 6th in the Premier League, if any. So if you look at it and you say this now is a of the competitions we remain in, probably the senior competition in terms of glory, and for our players, there's a real challenge here now about, do you want to prove how good you actually are and how much you really want to succeed? And so that might get an extra 0.5% out of the players that makes the difference. So for me, against the odds, against all the probabilities, given Sevilla's history of this competition, they are the experts in this competition. I'm backing West Ham United in this. We are going to be the Barbers of Seville. Yeah, we're going to cut them down to size. We're going through, and we're going to go all the way to the final. So this is the first trip to Seville this year. It isn't going to be the last. We're winning.
Rousing speech you need before a big hard tie, isn't it? I mean, I guess if you looked at our best performances this year, some of them have come against those big teams. Liverpool, kind of Chelsea. Those games were not expected to win. Even, I guess, probably suits us not to be expected to make the running either. Actually, we're generally a little bit better when teams come and play at us. So you could argue it was possibly better for us to get a team of a kind of higher stature than it is to get a team that we're going to have to go and force the play, because we struggled to force the play against Kidderminster, so we might have struggled to force the play if we'd ended up with someone like, I don't know, Sheriff had they gone through, or little minnows like Rangers that they have up there in some country called Scotland or something. Anyone who listens to the podcast will know I never predict a West Ham win, so I'll just never predict a West Ham win ever, because I feel like fatalism as part of my upbringing. But are you more of an optimist than I am, Graham?
Yeah. Yes, I am. And pretty much for the reasons you've mentioned, because this is the sort of tie that gets the juices flowing, isn't it, as West Ham supporters? This brings back memories of of Munich 65, of Arsenal in 1980, of Liverpool in 2006, even though, you know, that eventually didn't quite go our way. But let's be honest, we played them off the park for 90 minutes on that particular occasion when, of course, they were the reigning European champions. Yeah, I fancy us. I do fancy us. And I think, you know, I've got quite a few points that I've been making here that if you can bear with me, I'll go through. But I think firstly on just going back to what Paul was saying about not being beaten by more than one goal, that was true up until was it not Arsenal we lost to a few weeks ago? But I think that was the only occasion that we have been beaten in that you know, period for by more than one goal. So, you know, the point certainly stands that Paul's making. We've been absolutely incredible. The key, and again, I think Paul made this point, key for me is the first leg. We're going there to the Estadio Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan, or whatever, however you pronounce the last bit. My apologies for any Spanish-speaking followers of the stream. Yeah, we need to keep it tight. I think if we can come away from there with even a one-goal deficit, that'll be good for us. Depends, of course, how many fans we've got there. It's a 42,000 capacity stadium. Not quite sure how the rules work in Europe, but working on the basis that, you know, in the FA Cup you get granted 15% of capacity for the visiting team. That's, you know, you're talking around 6,000. Is that not right, Paul? Is that you're shaking your head?
I'm only going on what someone told me about Ibrox last night, because I looked at that game and thought that Dortmund had an awful lot of fans there, but I'm told they only had 2,800. Okay. Now I don't know how UEFA work the percentage out. It's not the same as our league. It's not the same as the FA Cup, where you get a large percentage. I don't think we're going to get much more than 3,000. I don't know what we got in the. I mean, maybe Benfica, who's done some of the games this season, how many tickets we got for the earlier rounds. I know that we could still take 10,000 people and they'll stand in a square and drink all night, but that's not the point. I don't think we're going to get much more than 3,000 in that stadium.
Okay, I think the point is that, you know, we're going to be back. However many are out there, it's going to be a noisy traveling support, and they're going to be key. But yeah, I mean, it's important that we go there, and I think this is a game that, you know, is absolutely stacked in our favour. We're going to be expected to be on the back foot for most of it. This is when West Ham play the best. You know, we've beaten Liverpool, we've beaten Chelsea, we've beaten Man City, all right, in a penalty shootout, but we've put them out of the cup by playing that way, sitting back, soaking up the pressure, and we're good. This is one of our key points, isn't it? Is we're very, very good at hitting teams on the counter. So I see no reason why we can't actually go there and you know, even get a result. I'm not suggesting we're gonna emulate what Rangers did at Dortmund a couple of weeks ago, but I certainly could see us coming out there with a draw at the very worst and a narrow defeat. The key is, of course, as I say, that we're still in with a shout when it comes to that second leg, and as has been mentioned, 60,000. It's going to be an incredible night at the London Olympic Stadium that night, with, you know, as long as it's still competitive, as long as we don't go there and do what we did against Man City in the you know, the League Cup a few years ago after Big Sam's Nottingham Forest debacle, the Roger Johnson night, as it's often referred to. But yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. Can I just a couple of other things that I did want to mention that I was checking while Chris, you were talking to the other guys. Seville's record in Europe, although they've been fantastic in La Liga this year, their record in Europe is pretty dreadful. They only won one game in their 6 in the Champions League, finished third. And this was a competition or a group I think they would have been expected to not just qualify from, but to win. I mean, Wolfsburg finished bottom, but, you know, Seville were knocked out by Lille and Salzburg. And I think you would have, you know, before the competition, you would have been expecting them to win that. The only game they actually won was against Wolfsburg, who finished bottom, beat them 2-0 at home. And then, of course, as we know, in the knockout phase last night, they were beaten by Zagreb, a team that we beat. Pinky again was out there; he knows how comfortable it was, but we beat them fairly easily over there, and only were beaten at home because we played you know, a bunch of kids in the return leg. So we've got to be hoping that they bring their European form into the game as opposed to their domestic form, for sure. One other thing, just a casual thing to throw in, if I may, while you were chatting. Again, Chris, I've been looking through the KUMB archives just to see if there's any common ground between the players and staff. And I've managed to pull up a few. The only player I can find that's actually represented both was a chap called Kepa Blanco, who I'm sure some of our... do you remember him, Chris? You would have been very young at the time. I mean, that's 16 years ago. We're going back. He came on, I think he was signed on loan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the raft of we're desperate and we need a strikers that we used to just pick up in Januaries or in times like that when we were.
Yeah.
I think I remember him playing a kind of a half decent game. Or did he score against Liverpool or did he play?
Everton buried a header from 13 yards. Absolutely, in it went. Bang. Have some of that.
We've had a raft
you are
of those
also sorry, Chris. You are also forgetting Freddie Canute, of course.
Oh yes.
Who played for both sides.
There you go. I've missed that one actually, Mark. Thanks for bringing that in. But also on the list, I've got Lionel Scaloni, who, going back to the 2006 Cup final, didn't actually play for Seville, but was their manager or their coach at one point. We signed a former right back of Seville's, a chap called Zeljko Petrovic. Some of you may remember, who was the assistant manager to Avram Grant in that. Otherwise, awfully forgetful season in 2010-2011. That's about it, I think, as far as players that have represented both clubs at some point are concerned. But we have been linked to a few of their players over the years. And once again, looking back at the KUMB archives, I can tell you that in June 2013, we were linked with a move for Alvaro Negredo. Unai Emery was touted as a potential replacement for Sam Allardyce in June 2015. Stephen Nzonzi, remember him, played for Blackburn. We were linked with him in the January 2018 transfer window. And finally, central midfielder Joan Jordan, I'll probably pronounce his name, it's probably not Joan, it's probably Juan or something like that, was linked with a move to West Ham in June 2019. He was at Eibar at the time, but eventually went to Seville instead. And of course, most recently, one of their strikers, Munir El Hadidi, was strongly linked with West Ham last summer. But yeah, so and I don't think, and again, I've looked through the archives and I can't see any history at all of us having met Seville in a competitive fixture before. So new ground for both of us in that sense.
I know we are linked to theirs. They've got Moroccan, I think, En-Nezzari. I've never known how to say his name. He's a Sevilla striker. We've been linked to him kind of a few times since Moyes came in. So might be a chance up close and personal for a scouting report in that one. I mean, I've got some more Spanish for you if you'd like. Tienes tu pasaporte? Llegamos a Español 10 de marzo. So have you got your passport? We arrive in Spain on the 10th of March. And I'm about out of Spanish I know now because that's about all I've got. But I mean, I think probably cervezas is what Pinky will be after. I don't know if I know numbers high enough in Spanish for the amount you might buy in a round, Pinky. But
yeah, but I'm lucky. I've got 13 fingers. Okay, and you just hold them up. You know, and no, I mean, I'm delighted for our supporters. In all seriousness, you know, a glamour tie against decent opposition. You know, Paul's point about ticket allocation. Yeah, I think we'll 3,000 top whack. I mean, looking what you know, when we played the Bad Breath Boys in Zagreb, I think we had just over 2,000 tickets, something like that. Ghent away, you know, we had some difficult scenes with people without tickets and so forth. But again, that was about 2,500. But we took about 4,000 supporters, I reckon, to Ghent. You know, looking around, you know, the pubs and clubs. I think this one in Seville, if there were any less than 6,000 West Ham United in Seville for those 2 or 3 days, I'd be amazed. I think we will go in our thousands. A little bit of sunshine, a little bit of, you know, a few beers and what have you. I think a lot of people will be trying to get tickets in the opposition end because Seville, you know, sometimes you grow tired of competitions if you're in them every season. And there'll be plenty of their supporters, mark my words. Spain is not a wealthy country for a lot of people. You know, it's got, you know, some hard times. There'll be a lot of tickets available through, you know, the usual resellers, Triavago, and what have you. And so Viagogo, I meant, and what have you. So I would expect at least 6,000 West Ham to rock up in Seville for this game. Book your hotels, book your flights. They're going up in price by the minute. But I repeat, your options: go to Madrid, go to Faro. You know, even look at flying into North Africa, and there's a ferry that takes you across from Tangiers to Gibraltar. yeah, and then you make your way up there. There are lots and lots of options. Go to Malaga, take the coast train down. There was loads of options. Turn up in your thousands, because if we get behind our team home and away, we can do it. We really can.
That's in addition to that, on getting out there, you can go into Portugal into the Algarve, and the motorway I think goes straight to Sevilla, all the way across the bottom of Portugal and up. And I think that's the same motorway that goes right up the side of Spain. So, and if you go into Portugal, there's quite a few places which are relatively cheap to, hotel wise as well. And you you can almost get a bus. I think you can get a bus from Faro Airport to Sevilla. I'm sure you can. Yeah,
I've had 2 calls while we've been on with friends saying they're taking the Faro route. So, don't succumb to the stand and deliver prices of Ryanair and other airlines unless you have to. Seek the value. Don't encourage the airlines to continue to rip off football supporters, because how can a flight that I paid 50 quid for yesterday be 6 and 7 times that amount today? It's outrageous. And, I want all of our supporters to get there and get value for money, and just get behind the team, because we can do this. We can absolutely do this. Sometimes we are our own worst enemy as West Ham United Football Club. We sell ourselves short. We do ourselves down. We have earned the right to be in this competition. Let's not kid ourselves. We have earned the right. And whilst we've had a sticky patch, for probably the last 2-3 months, we're still in the top half a dozen teams in the English Premier League. We're not the mug team of this competition. We can compete with the very best when we are at our best. And I think if David Moyes does anything for West Ham, get us up for these 2 games, get us through this round of the competition. And I think if we do that, we have got a fantastic chance of going the whole way. So for me, turn up, cheer us on, and see us get through. That's what I want to do.
Well said.
Rousing again. We need to get you doing these more often. I might start to believe in some things. Some positivity. I do struggle to ever predict anything to go well for West Ham. I don't feel like being raised West Ham. That's in my nature to expect good things. I know we on the podcast we did an interview yesterday with a West Ham fan as part of the band Koala, and he was much more in my he'd done the BBC Score Predicts with Loro recently. So I couldn't really predict West Ham to win, because then I'd be in front of people predicting West Ham to win, and so that's a kind of attitude I very much understand. Not believing, especially I've not really ever seen us do this European football thing properly. Really, I mean, we had the Bilic years of losing to these no-mark kind of part-time teams. It felt like in qualification, never really getting into real steps, and now we've got Sevilla in a last 16 tie in the Europa League. It's kind of new grounds for my generation. I don't know about you, slightly less young folk, but it's certainly something different for me and my lot.
I almost put on my newly bought from the club shop against all my instincts the European Cup Winners' Cup final shirt, which I've got upstairs, 1965. It cost, I think it cost 15 quid in the club shop there over Christmas, and I actually bought one. I've never bought anything from the club shop before, but that I did buy. And I think I'm actually going to wear that for the Seville game, however cold it might be.
It's a bit of history, Graham, which I'm sure a lot of the rest of the fan base, I suppose, will we have around games like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's the generation gap comes out, doesn't it, when you talk about West Ham in Europe? I mean, Paul was fortunate enough to be there in the club's heyday. My granddad was my grandfather was at the 65 final, and also went to Heysel in 76, which was one of the I think it was the second game I ever remember seeing live on TV featuring West Ham. The first being the 1975 Cup final against Fulham, which is the reason I always say that people talk about West Ham fans not being a glory hunter. Well, I absolutely was, because they were the first 2 games I saw us play, the FA Cup final and the European Cup Winners' Cup final. And then, of course, 4 years later, we played another cup final and a League Cup final within the space of a year and a bit. So We were very spoilt people of my generation back in those days, but of course it's been almost like a footballing wasteland since then. We've not, by as you mentioned, the briefest, in fact, of runs in 2016 and 17 under Bilic, going out to Astra. What's the Kajagoogoo, AstraZeneca, isn't it? And the Maltese side, whose name I forget now, as well. But of course, 1980. That I can still remember watching that the Ghost match against Castilla, wasn't it? When we went there in the first leg, and there was some issues with the crowd. More issues, to be fair, from people who actually went with the Spanish police. But that's a long time ago, and it's part of history now. But anyway, we triumphed 4-1, I think it was, wasn't it, in that second leg, and we were beaten by Tbilisi, who were applauded off at Upton Park for an incredible performance. Even though, once again, in typical West Ham fashion, we went to Russia or Georgia, I think it was, part of the USSR at the time, and won the return leg. So even for my generation, this is kind of new ground to be playing a huge team in Europe, and I'm with Pinky. I'm beginning to feel it. I think we should stick Pinky in the dressing room now. I'm absolutely certain we need to have him in the dressing room before the game, winding up the troops, talking about being the Barbers of Seville, once again, and stirring stuff like that. But
Graham, I've still got my boots. I could do you a turn at centre back if needed. Yeah? Never mind give the speech. I'm ready to play.
Well, there you go. I mean, you might need to, the way things are going, if we lose any more defenders. But can I just touch quickly then, Chris, before we wrap up, I suppose, on the 8 teams that we think between us are going to be making up the quarterfinals. Were you going to do that? Sorry, am I stealing your thunder here?
Well, I'm already struggling to remember which 8 we picked to go through. I left the numbers. I mean, I off the top of my head, I would guess 6 Champions League teams at West Ham and Frankfurt. But
yeah, that's it. Rangers. We've got Rangers, Braga, Porto, Atalanta, Barcelona, Leipzig, Frankfurt, and West Ham United. So that's how we see it lining up in the last 8. I hope it is anyway.
Yeah, and then I mean, I suppose you've already got Pinky who's bought his tickets. He's probably already guessed which flight is perfect to get for the final already. Anyways, a certain mystic skill you've got over there.
All booked, lads. Yeah, sometimes you just got to believe. And while we've been on, I've booked my hotel for Seville for this round. I booked the hotel for the final months ago. If you haven't already booked for the final in Seville, give up now. You've got no chance. Seriously, because you're competing against every other team's supporters. So, you'll probably get a load of last-minute cancellations a week before the final. So keep looking. But, yeah, I mean, you never know. Look, we could lose 5-0 both legs. We could win both legs 5-0. But I've always believed that if you believe, you've got a better chance. And I just think it's time for West Ham supporters to believe.
Yeah,
certainly time to have a good run and I suppose enjoy it whilst we can. Really, I guess pessimists like me are never really enjoying the win. We're always looking for the next problem. And actually, it's quite nice at the moment to be surrounded by a team that isn't stumbling from miserable performance to miserable performance. We shoot ourselves in the foot every so often, but actually, it's a rather long summer really for this team in a modern era to be kind of kicking on and giving us a chance to believe in Europe. It doesn't feel real to say, almost.
I think, to be honest, that Seville might well just be a bit wary of us. I mean, English football is physical, quick, and they won't be too keen on playing Antonio. If Antonio is playing well, he can be unplayable, and that's I think a good point. I don't think he's played particularly well recently, but when he's on song, and I think he might for this. Someone mentioned earlier that some of these guys never played at this level before. They might never play it again. This is the pinnacle of their careers, and you can to a certain extent you can actually sort of throw that at quite a few of them. Bowen particularly, then 18 months ago playing for Hull. They're going to play out of their skin there, And our game is based on pace out of defence, pace and strength out of defence. And I don't think they'll be too keen on that. I've got, by the way, a rather unfortunate story about Seville, going back to what Pinky was saying about hotels. My son's in charge of my travel arrangements for football, and he booked a hotel for the final months ago for both of us. We had a email message at the weekend saying that they cancelled the booking and they were offering it for twice the money, which didn't impress us very much, to be honest. So we haven't got a hotel now, but we have got a mate in Spain who's got a villa. We're working on him.
Paul, I've got a method of dealing with that. It's a can of petrol. I've got a method of dealing with it.
Yeah, go on. A
can of petrol and a box of matches.
Yes, I couldn't agree more.
Because if they pull that stroke with me, that's what they'll get.
It was a really put the wind out of ourselves a bit, because we've been telling everybody, including our wives, that we were going to Seville for the final, and it's all booked. Well, now it's not. So we'll see. But again, going back to a mate of mine, he's got a villa somewhere, Malaga way or whatever it is. Ridiculously rich guy who owns a chain of McDonald's franchises in Scotland. But so he's actually rolling in it. So he's got this villa, and he said, well, we can all go and stay there. So we're contemplating that now.
Okay, while we've been on air, Formula One have cancelled the Grand Prix in Russia.
Oh,
so,
that's not surprising, is it? I mean,
yeah,
this is going to snowball this next week or so.
Yeah.
And rightly so. I mean, you can't countenance what's happened. You can argue about politics and people having, even the 2014 Crimea thing wasn't a full-scale invasion, and so ostensibly they were there to protect the Russians who live in that area. This is completely different. You can't invade and overrun a European city like this. This is just not right. It's way over the line.
Thank God we had that World Cup in Russia, so we could make such good relations and football could move things on so well. I'm sure that'll work brilliantly in Qatar, and it won't be all about the money then. I mean, Graham, I'll leave you to wrap up. You're the master of this, and you'll know when's best and how's best to finish.
Well, I've got my finger on the button, haven't I, so to speak? So I guess it's ultimately down to me. Well, it's been good fun actually. Not sure that it was the draw that we all wanted right now. I guess we were perhaps hoping to draw Seville in the final, but as we always say, if you're going to win the best, you've got to beat the best. So bring them all on. Seville, Barcelona, whoever. Let's take them all on. And I'm quite confident actually. I think we all are, judging by what we said. Thank you to everyone joining us on the stream this morning and this afternoon. If you want to comment on the draw or anything else about the Europa League draw or anything about West Ham in general, come and join us on the KUMB.com forum. We're going to be there this afternoon chatting about what's happened today, and I'm sure there'll be lots of talk about flights and prices and hotels and ways to get there. West Ham, that's it. West Ham have drawn Seville in the last 16 of the Europa League. We are off to Spain, fellow Hammers. Get your deck chairs out. Get your suntan lotion out. We're going on holiday. Let's hope it's a good one. That's about it from us. My thanks to Paul, to Pinky, to Nick, who joined us very, very briefly. Unfortunately, couldn't stay with us. To Mark as well, and mostly to Chris. For holding the reins and hosting the show. Did a fabulous job as always, Chris. It would be remiss of us not to get a plug in for the podcast, would it not, on such an auspicious occasion?
Oh, definitely, yeah. So as I said before, we spent yesterday night doing a kind of West Ham top 11 with guitarist and vocalist for the band Koala that we managed to get on, and it was a bit disgusting because they were all so young that none of them could even really. We're picking a team, and none of them even really thought to mention, say, Joe Cole. None of them had seen Carrick play for us, and it's quite nice coming on here because they make me feel old. So it's nice to come back this way to get a little bit of an equilibrium again.
Happy days. Well, we all look forward to that. Of course, you can get the KUMB.com podcast, which Chris hosts along with Jack and Callum. the youth team, as we often refer to them on KUMB, on a pretty much weekly basis, and it's absolutely fantastic. Don't miss it. The statistical analysis is really something to you can't match it. Basically, it's fantastic. Something to behold. That's it from us. Thank you to everyone for joining us. We will see you all again very soon. West Ham, as we said, are off to Seville. The last 16 of the Europa League. Until next time. Probably Wolves, of course. We'll be back for Wolves hopefully this weekend. So we'll see you then. Until then.